I woke up because something was scratching at my bedroom door. Not knocking, not pounding, scratching. Long, deliberate scrapes, like nails dragged across wood. At first, I thought it was my dog, but then I remembered, my dog's been dead for 2 years. I didn't want to move. My whole body felt pinned down by the sound, like if I so much as shifted, whatever was on the other side would know I was awake. I held my breath, staring at the faint glow of my phone charging on the nightstand, debating if I should reach for it. Then, the scratching stopped. Silence. And in that silence, I heard something else, a low panting. Heavy, animal-like, right outside the door. I whispered, "Hello," before my brain could stop me. The panting stopped too. Then a voice answered, but it wasn't human. It was my voice. From the other side of the door, my own voice whispered back, "Let me in." I froze. My throat locked up, like my body refused to even let me scream. Hearing my own voice outside the door, it was like something in my brain short-circuited. I reached for my phone, fumbling it off the charger, and the screen lit up the room just enough for me to see the corner by the ceiling. There was a shadow figure standing there. Not in the doorway, not crawling out from under the bed. Just there, pressed into the upper corner like a spider, arms bent at wrong angles, its face hidden in the dark. I should have run. I should have done something. But I just stared, trying to convince myself I was still dreaming. Then the door handle started to turn. Slowly. Deliberate. The shadow twitched in the corner, like it was waiting for me to choose. And before I could decide whether to scream, run, or grab something to defend myself, the door opened on its own. Nothing came in, but the hallway beyond was gone. In its place was a pitch-black void. And padding out of that darkness was a dog. A big black dog with eyes like empty holes. Its tail wagged, slow and wrong, brushing against the doorframe. And then, in my own voice again, it said, "I found you." I don't know how I didn't pass out. My stomach lurched like I was about to vomit, my legs screaming to run, but they wouldn't move. The dog stepped closer, paws making no sound on the floor. Its body seemed wrong. Too long, like its spine had extra joints. Every step, its form wavered at the edges, like heat rising off asphalt. I backed up until my shoulders hit the wall. My phone screen was still glowing in my hand, and in some desperate, stupid reflex, I opened the camera and aimed it at the thing. On the screen, there was no dog, no shadow in the corner, no void where the hallway should have been. Just my room. Empty. But the scratching started again, this time from inside the phone. Long, dragging scrapes that made the speaker vibrate against my palm. I almost dropped it, but the screen flickered and filled with text. "Go to the stairs." I didn't want to move, but behind the dog, the void seemed to pulse, like it was breathing. The thing's tail thumped against the floor now, faster, like it was excited. And I realized, if I didn't move, it was going to come closer. So I ran, straight past it, into the darkness where my hallway used to be. And somehow, there were stairs waiting for me, curving downward. The stairs shouldn't have been there. My house doesn't have a basement. But I didn't have time to think about that. I just knew if I stayed near that dog thing, I was done. So I forced my legs to move, pounding down the steps 2 at a time. The air grew colder the deeper I went, heavy and damp, like I was descending into a cave. My phone screen dimmed, flickered, then died completely. I smacked the side of it, praying for even a sliver of light, but nothing. I don't know how far I went. The steps curved in a slow spiral, like they were wrapping around the inside of a well. The walls weren't drywall anymore. They felt rough and curved, stone or maybe something older, carved smooth by hands that weren't human. Finally, the stairs ended. I stepped into a circular room. No windows, no doors, just a wide, empty space with walls that seemed to stretch higher than the light could reach. I looked up, trying to find the ceiling, and nearly lost my balance, because the stairs I'd just run down were gone. The wall was unbroken. No sign I had ever descended. I was trapped, and then I heard it again, echoing faintly through the vast chamber. Panting, somewhere in the dark above me. I pressed my back to the wall, staring into the dark above me. The panting echoed, bouncing around the chamber so I couldn't tell where it was coming from. Then something dripped. A single, cold drop hit my cheek. I wiped it away, and my fingers came back black, like oil. My chest tightened. I looked up. There was something moving on the wall. Not climbing. Walking, sideways, like gravity didn't apply to it. The dog. But its body was stretched thin now, like it was smeared across the stone. Its head lolled at an angle, tongue hanging too far out of its mouth. It stopped, head twitching toward me, and then the walls themselves seemed to breathe. I don't know how else to describe it. The chamber exhaled, and suddenly, I wasn't alone. Standing across from me, in the same dark corner of the room, was a woman. She wore an old nurse's uniform, white turned yellow with age. Her face was gray, her mouth too wide, like the smile had been carved there with a knife. And she was holding a lantern. The light didn't reach me. It barely lit her, but I could see enough to know she was staring right at me. She raised one hand, slow, deliberate, and pointed to a door that hadn't been there a second ago. A door behind her. I didn't trust her. Every instinct in me screamed not to move, not to follow, not to even blink. But the longer I stared, the clearer the truth became. The door behind her was the only way out. The dog's body shifted on the wall, joints cracking like branches snapping. Its paws made no sound as it began crawling closer, still sideways, like the wall was its floor. I pushed off the stone and sprinted. The nurse didn't move. She just watched me, lantern light swinging, her grotesque smile fixed. As I reached her, I braced for her to grab me, to claw at my skin. But her hand just hovered in the air, pointing. I yanked the handle and stumbled through the door, straight into a road. Night air hit my face so hard I nearly cried. Gravel crunched under my sneakers. I spun around. The door was gone. Just empty black fields on either side, stretching forever. A thin, cracked two-lane road running forward into nowhere. I didn't know where to go, but I couldn't stay still. My legs carried me forward, faster and faster, until headlights appeared behind me. Relief flooded me. A car. A way out. I turned, waving my arms like a maniac. The car slowed, and as it rolled closer, I saw the driver. It was the nurse. Her lantern sat in the passenger seat. I froze in the middle of the road, my arms falling to my sides. The headlights washed me in blinding white, and for a second I thought maybe I was seeing wrong. That fear was twisting my brain. But no, it was her. The nurse's gray face, that carved smile, hands gripping the wheel. The lantern glowed faintly in the seat beside her, as if mocking me. She didn't blink, didn't even breathe. Just sat there, engine idling, staring through the windshield at me. I staggered backward, shielding my eyes. Please, please just take me home, I begged. My voice cracked, pathetic. The passenger window slid down. Not rolled, not cranked. Just dropped into the door like the glass had melted away. And from inside came a sound I'll never forget. Children, laughing. Dozens of them, layered over each other, too loud, too close, pouring out of the car like the vehicle itself was a throat. The nurse tilted her head. Slowly, too slowly. Then she lifted one hand from the wheel and beckoned me forward with a single finger. The laughter cut off, dead silent. And over the roar of the idling engine, I heard something new, panting, from the back seat. I shook my head so hard my teeth rattled. No way in hell was I getting in that car. I turned and bolted down the road, gravel crunching, lungs burning. The night pressed in from both sides, a suffocating void that seemed to swallow sound. Behind me, the engine revved. Tires squealed against the pavement. I didn't dare look back, but the headlights grew brighter, flooding the road ahead, stretching my shadow long and thin until it warped into something unrecognizable. Limbs too many, head splitting into two. The car was right on me. I veered off into the field, grass whipping my legs. The beams cut across the land, following, hunting. I tripped and went down hard, knees exploding with pain, but I scrambled up before the light could pin me. That's when I saw it. Out in the middle of the empty field stood a house. Circular, white siding, windows all around. It looked wrong, like it was both too close and too far at once, perspective bending as I blinked. But it was shelter. I sprinted toward it, every step dragging like the air was thickening, pulling me back. The car didn't follow into the field, the headlights cut off. The house loomed taller, towering over me, and I swear I saw figures watching from the upper windows. When I reached the door, it swung open on its own, and at the bottom of the stairs inside was my dog, black, wagging its tail, waiting. The sight of that dog broke something in me. For a split second, I wanted to believe it was really him, my dog, back after all these years. I even whispered his name, my voice trembling, like if I said it softly enough, the nightmare would break. His ears twitched. His tail thumped twice against the stairs. Then his mouth opened. Too wide. Wider than a dog's jaw should ever stretch. The skin at the corners split like paper tearing, but no sound came out. Just a long, hollow silence that made my ears ring. I staggered back, but the door behind me slammed shut. The whole house seemed to shudder, the walls flexing as if they were breathing. I turned to run up the stairs, anything to get away from that thing. But as soon as I set foot on the first step, the staircase shifted beneath me. Each stair bent and twisted, rearranging itself. I climbed faster, heart hammering. But no matter how many steps I took, the top never came closer. When I looked back, the bottom was gone. Just a dark pit yawning below, swallowing the place where the dog had been. Then, from the shadows above, a hand reached down, pale, bony fingers stretching toward me. And a voice whispered from the void beneath the stairs, my own voice again. "You'll never get out." I don't know why I did it. Maybe instinct, maybe desperation. But I grabbed the hand. The fingers snapped closed around my wrist like a trap. Ice cold. Too strong. It yanked me upward with a strength that nearly dislocated my shoulder. For a moment, I thought maybe I was being pulled to safety, up and out of this nightmare. But as I broke free from the stairwell's endless spiral, I realized where I was. A room. Circular again, like the chamber below, but smaller. The walls were lined with doors, dozens of them, stretching in a perfect ring. Each one identical. Each one shut tight. Except the one I was dragged through. The hand that had pulled me was gone. Just gone. My wrist burned where it had gripped me, like frostbite spreading under the skin. I stumbled to my feet, spinning, trying to get my bearings. That's when I noticed the doors weren't still. They were breathing. Every one of them swelled slightly, with groaning, as if something was behind each door, pushing to get out. And faintly, so faintly, I almost convinced myself I imagined it. I heard whispers leaking through the cracks. My own voice. Dozens of them. Each door speaking in unison, layered over each other. Pick one. I shook my head, backing into the center of the room. No, I'm not opening anything. I whispered, my throat raw. The whispers grew louder, pressed through the wood, my own voice overlapping itself until it was unbearable. Some begged, some screamed, some laughed in jagged, broken tones. Pick one. Pick me. Pick me. Pick me. Pick me. I dropped to my knees, clamping my hands over my ears. But the sound wasn't just outside. It was inside my skull, rattling in my teeth. And then the choice was made for me. One of the doors blew open. Not creaked, not swung, exploded. Splinters whizzed across the room, cutting my arms and face. Darkness poured out, thick and alive, rushing toward me like smoke with weight. The lights from the other doors flickered as the black cloud spread. Through the haze, something crawled out. At first I thought it was a person, but as it pulled itself into the room, I saw its limbs bending in directions they shouldn't, joints twisting like broken marionette strings. Its head lolled, jerking upright only when it spoke. Not in my voice this time. In the nurse's. "You shouldn't have run." The thing shambled forward, joints popping like wetwood snapping. I scrambled back, but the room itself betrayed me. The floor tilted, slowly at first, then harder, like I was standing on the edge of a sinking ship. My body slid toward the creature, my nails scraping uselessly at the boards. The other doors began to rattle. One by one, in rapid succession, they blew open, each vomiting out its own darkness. The whispers came back, louder now, dozens of versions of me pouring into the air. The crawling figure lurched closer, its arms bending backward, hands planted on the floor like a spider. Its face hovered inches from mine now, and in the nurse's voice it hissed. "You'll end up like them." Behind it, through the storm of black smoke, I saw what it meant. Inside the other doorways, I caught glimpses me. Dozens of me's, trapped in rooms just like this one. Some pounding at invisible walls, some curled in corners sobbing, some hanging from ceilings with ropes biting into their necks. Every door was a mirror. Every door was a prison. And when I looked back at the crawling figure, I realized its face wasn't the nurse's after all. It was mine. I screamed and kicked, my foot connecting with its face, my face. The jaw unhinged with a sickening crack, but instead of falling back, it split wider, tearing from chin to sternum. No blood, no organs, just black, endless void inside. The thing lunged, and I rolled, skidding across the tilted floor. My hand smacked into a splintered board, driving wood under my skin, but the pain barely registered. I staggered up, heart pounding, looking for an escape. The doors. Some of them had gone still. Their whispers muted, like they were waiting. I bolted toward the nearest one, shoving it open. Inside was another circular room. Identical. And in the center of it, me. But this version didn't move. Didn't breathe. It sat slumped against the wall, eyes wide and glassy, mouth stretched into a silent scream. Skin gray, lips blue. Dead. The crawling version shrieked behind me, a noise that was part my own voice, part animal. I slammed the door shut before it could get through, my chest heaving. And then I realized. The door I'd closed wasn't the one I'd opened. The room around me had changed. And this one had no doors at all. Just walls, curved and smooth. A perfect circle. I spun in place, palms flat against the walls, searching for a seam, a crack, anything. There was nothing. Just cold, smooth surface curving endlessly around me. My breathing echoed too loud in the silence. My own heartbeat felt like footsteps closing in. Then the floor moved. At first it was subtle, a vibration under my hands. Then it pulsed, rising and falling like I was standing on a lung. The walls flexed in rhythm, inhaling, exhaling, until the whole room felt alive around me. I dropped to my knees, pressing my forehead to the floor, trying to will myself awake. But the pulse grew stronger, shaking my bones. And then came the sound. Scratching. Not from the walls. Not from the floor. From underneath. Something was clawing its way up from below, dragging nails, or claws, through whatever thin barriers separated me from whatever hell was underneath. The sound circled under me, faster and faster, like it was looking for the weakest spot. I scrambled back until I was plastered against the wall, staring at the center of the room. The floor bulged, split, and a snout pushed through, black, dripping, familiar. The dog, panting, grinning. Found you, it said in my voice again. I pressed myself tighter against the wall, every muscle trembling. The dog hauled itself up through the floor, one paw at a time, like it was climbing out of a grave. Its body was too big for the space, too long, but it slid through like the room was stretching to make room for it. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't even cry. It padded toward me, head tilted, tail wagging lazily. Up close, I saw its fur wasn't fur at all. It was shifting smoke, rolling off its body in tendrils that curled and disappeared into the air. It stopped just in front of me, close enough that I could smell it. Not wet dog. Not rot. Just nothing. The absence of smell. Then its jaw opened, splitting unnaturally wide, and inside. Not teeth. Not gums. A stairwell. The same spiral stairs I'd run down before, descending into black. I gagged, while rising in my throat. The dog tilted its head further, tongue lolling, and in my own voice it said again, "Go." The stairs inside its mouth pulsed faintly, like they were waiting for me to step inside. And for the first time since this started, I felt something worse than fear. Curiosity. I shook my head, violently, tears stinging my eyes. No, I'm not walking into that. The dog's tail slowed, then stilled. Its head cocked the other way, like it couldn't understand why I'd refuse. The spiral in its mouth began to fade, the blackness collapsing inward, until all that was left was the void again, empty and endless. The room shuddered. The walls flexed harder, like the house itself was furious with me. The dog growled, not like a normal dog, but like something grinding deep underground. Then it lunged. I barely had time to throw my arms up before its body passed through me. Not like fur, not like flesh, like smoke. Cold, choking smoke that filled my mouth and nose and ears, flooding me. I couldn't breathe, couldn't move. My chest locked, my vision blackened at the edges, and then I was standing. In my kitchen, lights on, everything exactly as it should be. For a second I thought it was over, that I'd finally woken up. But my phone buzzed on the counter. I snatched it up, desperate for some tether to reality. One notification glowed on the screen. Recording saved, you. Avi. I hadn't filmed anything. And the thumbnail was a still image of me, sleeping in my bed. My fingers shook so badly I almost dropped the phone. I didn't want to watch it. Every part of me screamed not to. But I tapped play anyway. The video began with me asleep, curled on my side. The angle was wrong. Too high, like the camera had been mounted near the ceiling. For a few seconds, nothing moved. Just me, breathing. Then the blanket shifted. Slowly, deliberately, it was pulled down my body, inch by inch, until it slid off the bed completely. I didn't stir. Something dark crouched at the foot of the bed. Not the dog, not the nurse. Just a shadow, human-shaped but stretched tall, head bent too low, arms dangling almost to the floor. It stood there, watching me sleep, for nearly a full minute. Then, without sound, the figure climbed onto the mattress. The phone's microphone didn't pick up a single creak of springs, not a rustle of sheets. It moved like smoke, straddling me. And then, slowly, it leaned close to my ear. The camera zoomed in on its face. And that's when I realized the video wasn't recorded. It was live, because the shadow turned and stared directly into the camera lens. And whispered, "He's awake now." I dropped the phone like it had burned me. It clattered against the tile, screen still glowing. My chest heaved, every breath a jagged knife. Slowly, against every ounce of instinct, I bent down and picked it back up. The live feed was still running. Only now, the bed was empty. The camera had shifted, angled down toward the floor. And there I was. Not on the bed, not in the kitchen, on the screen. I was crouched on the floor beside the bed, knees pulled tight to my chest, staring straight up into the lens. My face slack, my eyes wide and unblinking. I staggered back, nearly slipping on the tiles. "That's not me," I whispered. My voice cracked in the still air. On the screen, the other me tilted its head, mimicking me exactly. Then its mouth stretched wide, wider, until the lips split and the skin tore up both cheeks. And I realized the phone wasn't just showing me. It was showing my house. Every room, one by one, flickered across the feed. The living room, the bathroom, the hallway, all empty. But in each frame, there was always the same thing, standing in the corner, barely visible. A shadow, watching. I couldn't take it anymore. I bolted. The phone slipped from my hand and hit the counter with a crack, the live feed still flashing through rooms behind me as I sprinted for the front door. My hands fumbled at the deadbolt, finally wrenching it open. Cold night air rushed in. Relief surged through me, until I looked outside. It wasn't my street. Where the road should have been, there was nothing. Just that same circular field, stretching into the dark. And in the middle of it, the house. The same house I was standing in. I staggered back, my stomach twisting. I turned to look behind me. Hallways spiraling, the floor flexing like muscle under the carpet, doors shuddering in their frames. And then a voice whispered directly into my ear, though I was completely alone. "You never left." I spun around. No one there. But when I glanced back at the open doorway, I saw myself standing in the field. Not running, not screaming, just smiling. I staggered forward, one hand braced on the doorframe, staring at myself out in the field. The other me raised a hand and waved. Slow, mocking. I slammed the door shut. The whole house trembled, the walls groaning like they'd been holding their breath. My ears popped, and suddenly all the whispers, panting, laughter, every sound I'd heard since this nightmare began, came back at once. Layered, deafening. I pressed my hands over my ears, but it didn't help. The noise was inside me. Then silence. I opened my eyes. I was in bed. Blanket pulled up to my chest. Room dark. Phone buzzing faintly on the nightstand. For a long moment, I lay there, frozen, trying to convince myself it had all been a dream. I reached for my phone, desperate for proof of normalcy. One notification blinked on the screen. Recording saved, he never left. MP4. The thumbnail wasn't me sleeping this time. It was me, sitting up in bed, staring at the camera. And just as my thumb hovered over the screen, the door to my room creaked open. Scratching, panting, and my own voice whispered from the dark. "Let me in."